In 1956, Eshelby has introduced a concept which is now called Eshelby force. The idea is to take an elastic continuum with defects, and these defects have to be identified by parameters which are sufficient to characterize their configuration. If we write the total potential energy of this elastic system with defects, and we take the derivative with respect to the parameters identifying the defects, we find the Eshelby force. The Eshelby force is believed to move the defects in an elastic continuum in a way that the system reaches a minimum of potential energy. Now our problem is to translate these concepts in the context of elastic structures. What you see here is an elastic rod inserted in a sliding sleeve. A sliding sleeve is a clamp in which the elastic rod can freely slide without any friction, and so this clamp can provide a bending moment, which is the transversal force applied to the edge of the beam, F, times the arm, L bar minus LEQ, this arm, and also the constraint provides transversal force F. We have added an horizontal force S, and it is expected at the first glance that at equilibrium this force has to be zero. But things don't go in this way. And if we write the total potential energy of the system, it's a student exercise because we assume linear behavior of the system. We see that the potential energy, the total potential energy, depends on the free parameter LEQ, which is the amount of the elastic rod inserted in the sliding sleeve. Now, if we take the derivative with respect to this free parameter, we obtain these two terms, and these two terms have to be set equal to zero for equilibrium. And we discover that the force is not equal to zero, but has to be equal to this term, that in our view is an Eshelby-like force because it's related to a change of the configuration of the system. And please note that this force is the square of the bending moment divided by 2 and divided by the bending stiffness of the elastic rod. Well, this force is thought to act horizontally on the beam and is a force generated by the sliding sleeve. This holds true in a linearized environment, but these concepts can immediately be translated for large deformations. And in particular, you may see here now the sliding sleeve inclined at an angle alpha with respect to the vertical, and now you see we are hanging a dead force F here, and the bending is M equal F times E, where E is the arm of the force. Also we have a transversal reaction F sinus alpha, and the surprising thing is to see that this this force inclined at alpha S, it's not F cosinus alpha as it would be expected, but is this force plus the Eshelby-like force, which is again expressed in the same way before. Now, this force is small if the displacements are small, but if the displacements grow, then this force grows also, and you may see that in certain cases it becomes dominant. So, for instance, if the deformed shape of this elastic rod has a final tangent with positive slope, then this force S is positive, so has this direction. If the final tangent is horizontal, then this force is zero. It means that this deformed system with a vertical force here is in equilibrium without any reaction here. And finally, if this final slope is negative, we need to pull this rod to maintain equilibrium, and in the absence of this force, this elastic rod will be immediately spit out of the sliding sleeve. So we have to think to this term again as a force acting on the elastic rod here and generated by the sliding sleeve. How this sliding sleeve can generate that force? We have given a variational proof of this. But in addition to the variational proof, we can also provide an asymptotic proof, which is conceptually different, and you may see a sketch of this proof here. Now the sliding sleeve is not perfect, is imperfect, so it has a thickness delta. And inside the sliding sleeve, you may see the elastic rod, which has this shape, and there is somewhere the vertical load F. And since the contact is smooth, without friction, then this reaction is vertical at this point, and this reaction is inclined at this contact point. Now, if we take the horizontal component of this reaction, which is the only horizontal force, and we take the limit when delta tends to 0, it means the structure becomes perfect in the limit, then this r sine of theta, this component, does not vanish, but it tends to the Eshelby-like force, which is this one. So we have given two different and independent proofs of the existence of this force. Now it is important to see if this force is a reality or it's a sort of mathematical abstraction. Now we move to the lab. This is the elastic system at equilibrium under a certain load. It is made up of a sliding sleeve, you see it here, and in this sliding sleeve this elastic rod can freely slide. And the equilibrium now is possible because this vertical force provides a deformation to this rod in which the tangent here is horizontal. And therefore a configurational force here, tensile configurational force, axial in this direction, is generated such that the global resultant of axial load here is 0. And so for this spatial configuration the equilibrium is satisfied. Now if I decrease this load, then the configurational force will be not enough to balance the weight of the system, and the elastic rod will go into the sliding sleeve. It's pretty easy to show. If I decrease this load, then it immediately slides down. Now if I restore equilibrium, and if I increase the load, if I increase this load, then the configurational force here will be higher, and therefore the equilibrium will be not possible, and the elastic rod will be spit from the sliding sleeve in a way that I show you in a moment. If I increase the load here, you will see that the equilibrium is impossible and the configurational force is so high that the elastic rod is spit. Experiments have been performed within this controlled temperature and humidity room. This is the experimental setup. You may see the acquisition here connected to this computer. This is the structure mounted on an optical table to avoid vibrations. The load at the tip of the elastic beam is provided through water flowing into this container and providing a vertical concentrated force. Let's look more in detail the experimental device. This is the elastic rod and is inserted into the sliding sleeve. The sliding sleeve is made up of several rollers. Each roller has a Teflon coating and a roller bearing inside. And the elastic beam is eventually hinged here. It's hardly visible, but it's a hinge this, and it's connected to a loading cell to measure the axial force during the test. This is the way the sliding sleeve works. We have disconnected the metal strip from the hinge, and so I can freely slide the metal strip. Pretty clear. The vertical load here is provided filling this container by water and measuring the load with this miniaturized loading cell. The system can be given a different inclination through rotation about this point, and we have also mounted 4 accelerometers just to monitor the vibrations during the test, which have to be small or negligible in other words. Let's look to experiment.